Imagine you are surrounded by people, constantly seeking their approval. You spend your days trying to be liked, trying to fit in, and trying to get others to care about you. But deep down, there's this unsettling feeling. You wonder, do they really care about you? Or are you just another person in their life, temporarily important but quickly forgotten once they move on to something else? Have you ever thought, why do I keep doing this? Why do I always feel like I need to prove myself to others? Why do I let their opinions define my worth? We've all been there, trying to please people, thinking their approval will bring us happiness. But what if I told you that they might not care as much as you think? Take a moment and think about it. How often do you go out of your way to make others happy, only to find that the effort goes unnoticed, or worse, unappreciated? Does it feel like you're chasing something that never quite reaches you? This is a reality many face without realizing it. We are often caught in this cycle, expecting others to validate our existence, but we don't realize that no one else can truly fill that void. The truth is, the more you depend on others' approval, the less you truly live for yourself. Welcome to Wisdom Woven. Here, we dig deeper into these powerful ideas and explore truths that can change the way you think, feel, and live. But hey, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So, please take a second to show your support and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, let's dive deeper into this. Why do we seek validation? What makes us feel like we need it? You're about to find out that true peace comes from within, not from how others see you. The illusion of external validation. There's a deep desire within us, an insatiable longing that drives us to seek approval from others. We crave attention, recognition, and praise. But the truth is, this desire, while it may feel natural, is ultimately an illusion. It's like chasing the wind, always running, but never truly reaching anything solid. Imagine walking through life trying to find your worth in the eyes of others, only to find that their opinions are constantly shifting. One moment, they're happy with you. The next, they're indifferent or critical. It's a never-ending cycle, and yet, many of us continue to search for validation from external sources. Now, let's pause for a moment and think, why do we do this? Why do we base our sense of worth on the ever-changing opinions of others? The truth is, it's rooted in fear. Fear of being unloved, fear of being overlooked, fear of being rejected. We want to feel accepted, valued, and important. But what happens when we let this need for validation control our actions and decisions? We start to lose sight of who we truly are, becoming more focused on pleasing others than on staying true to ourselves. Buddhism teaches us that the search for external validation is rooted in attachment. We attach ourselves to the idea that our worth is defined by what others think of us. But this attachment only leads to suffering. The more we rely on others to define us, the more we open ourselves up to pain and disappointment. Their opinions are fleeting. They come and go. If we live for their validation, we will always be caught in a cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. This is the nature of desire. It's endless and it never truly satisfies. Imagine if you didn't need the approval of others to feel good about yourself. What if you could simply be at peace with who you are, regardless of what others think? The Buddha taught that true freedom comes from letting go of these attachments. When we release our dependence on external validation, we free ourselves from the constant need to seek approval. This doesn't mean we stop caring about others or stop valuing relationships. It simply means that we no longer let their opinions control our sense of self-worth. When you let go of the need for validation, you create space for something much more powerful, self-acceptance. Self-acceptance comes from within, from a deep understanding that you are enough as you are. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to seek approval to feel worthy. When you accept yourself fully, without needing others to validate you, you find a sense of inner peace that cannot be shaken by the opinions of others. But letting go of the need for validation isn't easy. It requires courage. It requires you to confront your deepest fears, the fear of being rejected, the fear of not being good enough. It requires you to trust that, even without external validation, you are worthy. And this trust is built through practice, through developing a strong sense of self and understanding that your value doesn't come from what others think of you. So, how do you begin to break free from this cycle? It starts with awareness. Become aware of when you are seeking validation from others. Notice the moments when you feel the need for approval. When you post something on social media and anxiously check for likes, or when you seek praise from your friends or family. Recognizing these moments is the first step in breaking the cycle. Once you become aware of your patterns, you can start to change them. The next step is to develop a sense of self-worth that is independent of others' opinions. This is where Buddhism can offer profound wisdom. The Buddha taught that we are all interconnected, that we are not separate from others. When you begin to see yourself as part of the larger whole, you start to realize that your value isn't determined by any one person's opinion. You are valuable simply because you exist. Another practice that can help is mindfulness. Mindfulness allows you to observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment. It helps you detach from the need to seek approval and instead encourages you to simply be present with yourself. When you're mindful, you can observe when you're looking for external validation and gently guide yourself back to a place of self-acceptance. One of the most important things to remember is that true happiness comes from within. When you rely on others for validation, you place your happiness in their hands. But when you begin to validate yourself, your happiness becomes something no one can take away. You create a foundation of inner peace that isn't swayed by the ups and downs of others' opinions. This is the ultimate freedom, the freedom to be yourself, fully and without apology. Now, this doesn't mean you stop caring about others or their opinions entirely. It's human nature to care about how others perceive us. What matters is that you don't let their opinions define you. You don't let them control your sense of worth. You can listen to feedback and use it to grow, but it should never shake your belief in your own value. In fact, when you stop seeking validation from others, you begin to attract the kind of relationships that are based on genuine connection, not dependency. You attract people who appreciate you for who you truly are, not for who you try to be. These are the relationships that bring true fulfillment, not the ones where you constantly feel like you need to prove yourself. The illusion of external validation is powerful, but it's also temporary. The opinions of others are fleeting. They can change from one moment to the next. But your true value is constant. When you realize this, you begin to live with a sense of peace and self-assurance that can't be shaken. You no longer waste your energy chasing after something that was never truly yours to begin with. Instead, you find contentment within yourself, and that contentment radiates outward, affecting every aspect of your life. The more you practice letting go of the need for validation, the more you'll experience a sense of freedom. You'll find that you no longer feel the need to impress others or seek their approval. Instead, you'll live authentically, true to yourself, and at peace with who you are. And that, my friend, is the ultimate form of success. Because when you live for yourself, you are no longer dependent on anyone else to determine your worth. You are free to simply be. The Buddhist perspective, impermanence and detachment. You are walking down a peaceful path, feeling the earth beneath your feet. In the stillness of the moment, a thought arises. What is the true nature of life? This question, though simple, carries profound wisdom. As you continue, the answer slowly begins to emerge from the stillness around you. In life, there is one truth that stands above all else. Everything is impermanent. This is a teaching that Buddha emphasized, and it is something we often forget. We become so attached to things, people, possessions, and even ideas, that we fail to recognize that all of it is fleeting. Every moment, every relationship, every possession we cling to, is passing through our hands like sand. No matter how tightly we grip, we cannot hold on to it forever. Think about the people in your life. Have you ever realized that you cannot control how they feel about you? You may try to please them, to make them see your worth, but in the end, they will change. They may love you today, but tomorrow, their feelings may shift. This is the nature of human beings. Their thoughts, emotions, and actions are constantly changing, just like everything else in life. The moment you rely on their opinions to define your worth, you are tethering your happiness to something that is constantly moving, constantly shifting. This is where detachment becomes important. Detachment does not mean you stop caring about others, or that you cut yourself off from the world. Rather, It is about understanding that nothing in this world can truly define you, especially not the opinions of others. Detachment is about releasing your grip on things that are beyond your control. When you detach, you stop chasing the approval of others. You stop seeking validation from external sources. Instead, you begin to find peace in yourself, knowing that you are complete as you are. The Buddhist path teaches us that by embracing the impermanence of life, we free ourselves from suffering. The more we hold on to people, possessions, and outcomes, the more we tie ourselves to suffering. When we let go, we allow ourselves to experience life as it is, without clinging, without needing it to be any different. Take a moment to think about your life. How many times have you been disappointed because someone didn't appreciate you the way you wanted? How many times have you felt unseen or unloved because you relied on others to validate your worth? This is a common struggle, but the truth is, when you let go of that need for external approval, you step into your true power. You begin to live for yourself, not for the expectations of others. Buddhism teaches us that attachment to the self is another form of suffering. When we are too attached to our identity or to how others perceive us, we create unnecessary friction in our lives. The desire to be seen a certain way, to be valued in a specific manner, only leads to dissatisfaction. We must learn to see ourselves as part of the greater whole, not separate from everything around us. The more we identify with our ego, the more we suffer. The key to peace is realizing that we are not our ego, not our reputation, and not our status. To truly detach, we must start by observing ourselves without judgment. Notice how often your mind drifts to thoughts of others' opinions, their judgments, and their expectations. Notice how your mind reacts when someone praises you or criticizes you. This is where the practice begins. Awareness is the first step toward liberation. By simply noticing your attachments, you can start to release them. Imagine living a life where you are no longer dependent on the approval of others. Imagine being free from the worry of what others think, from the anxiety of needing to be liked or admired. This freedom does not come from controlling others or manipulating situations to fit your desires. It comes from understanding that nothing external can define who you are. You are already whole. You are already complete. One of the most profound teachings in Buddhism is the idea that we are all interconnected. We are not isolated individuals chasing after our own happiness. Our lives are intertwined with the lives of others, and the suffering we experience is often a result of this false belief in separateness. The more we cling to the idea that we are separate, the more we suffer. When we let go of this attachment, we realize that everything is connected, and we are not alone in our struggles. Detachment is not about becoming cold or indifferent. It is about cultivating a deep understanding of life's impermanence. By embracing this truth, we begin to release our fear of loss, rejection, and disappointment. We start to live in the moment, accepting things as they are, without needing them to be different. This acceptance is where true peace lies. When you detach from the need for validation, you open yourself up to the beauty of life as it is. You stop looking outside yourself for answers, and instead, you begin to trust your own inner wisdom. You no longer need others to confirm your worth, because you already know it. You are enough, just as you are. The path of detachment is not easy, and it takes practice. But every step you take toward letting go of your attachments brings you closer to freedom. When you detach from the need for approval, you stop giving away your power to others. You stop waiting for them to define you, and you start defining yourself. So, ask yourself, are you ready to let go of the need for external validation? Are you ready to embrace the impermanence of life and live in harmony with the world around you? When you do, you will find a sense of peace and fulfillment that comes from within. You will stop looking outside for happiness, and instead, you will realize that it has always been inside you. Breaking the cycle of neediness. We often find ourselves trapped in a cycle, endlessly seeking the approval of others. It's as though we are on a hamster wheel, constantly running but never really getting anywhere. We rely on others to validate us, to make us feel worthy, to tell us that we matter. But why do we do this? Why do we let others have so much control over how we feel about ourselves? Imagine waking up every day feeling like you need someone else to say, "You're doing great," or "I'm proud of you." The truth is, we've been conditioned to seek external validation since we were children. society, our families, and even our friends teach us to look for praise and recognition in order to feel good about ourselves. But this constant need for validation only leaves us feeling empty because it's never enough. It's like trying to fill a cup with water that has a hole in the bottom. No matter how much you pour in, it will never stay full. When you live with this need for validation, your happiness is in the hands of others. If they approve, you feel great. But if they don't, you feel worthless. It's a dangerous game to play. You give away your power every time you place your worth in the hands of someone else. You start to believe that your value depends on how others see you, and that's where everything goes wrong. But the first step in breaking this cycle is to realize something simple yet profound. Your worth does not depend on anyone else. Your value is not defined by what others think of you or how they treat you. It is not based on how many likes you get on social media, how many compliments you receive, or how much attention you attract. Your worth is intrinsic. It is built within you, not from the outside world. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you found yourself doing something just to impress someone else? How many times have you compromised your own happiness because you thought it would make someone else happy? This cycle of neediness doesn't serve you. It only drains you. You become a prisoner of others' expectations, always striving to meet them, but never quite feeling good enough. So, how do you break free from this cycle? The first thing you must do is start valuing yourself. Begin to recognize your own strengths, your own uniqueness. Understand that you are valuable simply because you exist. You don't need anyone's permission to feel good about yourself. You don't need anyone's approval to live your life the way you want to. This might sound difficult, especially if you've spent your whole life seeking validation from others. But it's possible. The more you practice this mindset, the more you will start to believe it. When you stop depending on others to tell you your worth, you'll feel a sense of freedom you've never experienced before. You'll feel lighter, more confident, and at peace with yourself. You'll stop measuring your self-worth by the opinions of others and start measuring it by your own beliefs and actions. Another important part of breaking free from this cycle is learning to accept rejection. In life, there will always be people who don't like you, don't approve of you, or don't agree with you. But that doesn't mean you are any less worthy. It simply means that not everyone will resonate with you, and that's okay. The key is to stop internalizing rejection as a reflection of your value. When you can do this, you'll find that rejection no longer has the power to hurt you. Instead of letting it define you, you'll simply move on. Breaking the cycle of neediness also means learning to be comfortable with yourself, even when no one else is around. It means being at peace with your own company, enjoying your own thoughts, and feeling content with who you are without needing anyone else to complete you. This is where true power lies. When you are no longer dependent on others to make you feel good, you will find that your energy is no longer drained by the constant need to please. As you start to embrace this mindset, you will notice a shift. You'll begin to attract people who truly appreciate you for who you are, not because of what you can do for them or how much you can give them. You will find that the relationships you form are deeper, more meaningful, and more genuine because they are based on mutual respect and understanding, not on a need for validation. This journey isn't easy, and it won't happen overnight. It takes time, patience, and practice. But every step you take toward breaking free from this cycle is a step toward reclaiming your personal power. Every time you choose to value yourself over the opinions of others, you strengthen your inner peace. And that peace will carry you through the ups and downs of life, no matter what challenges come your way. So, the next time you catch yourself seeking validation from someone else, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, why do I need their approval? What would happen if I didn't get it? And then, remind yourself that you are enough just as you are. Your worth does not depend on anyone else. You are valuable, not because of how others see you, but because of who you are. When you can embrace this truth, you'll break free from the cycle of neediness. You'll stop looking outside yourself for validation and start looking within. And in doing so, you will find the peace, confidence, and freedom that you've been searching for all along. Understanding self-worth beyond others' approval. Imagine waking up one morning, standing in front of the mirror, and finally feeling at peace with who you are. No pressure to impress anyone. No need to seek validation. Just a deep sense of calm, knowing that your worth is not determined by what others think of you. You are enough. How does that feel? It's a feeling that many search for their whole lives but seldom find because they're chasing it in the wrong places. They believe that the opinions of others will somehow fill that empty space inside them. But that's not how it works. In life, we are taught to find worth in external things. We are encouraged to believe that success, beauty, wealth, or the approval of others makes us valuable. But what happens when those things disappear? What happens when the people we rely on for validation are no longer around? What happens when the perfect life we envisioned falls apart? In those moments, the truth becomes clear. Our worth was never in those things to begin with. Self-worth isn't about how others see you. It's about how you see yourself. It's not about what you have or what others think you have. It's about the belief that you matter because you exist, simply because you are. No one can give you this. It is something that you must discover and build within yourself. We often compare ourselves to others, measuring our lives against theirs, thinking we fall short in some way. But each person's journey is different. Your path is not the same as theirs, and their journey is not the same as yours. We all have our struggles, our challenges, and our triumphs. The only measure of your value should be the way you treat yourself, the way you learn, grow, and evolve. When you realize that you don't need others' approval to feel good about yourself, life begins to change. Suddenly, you can breathe freely. You don't have to worry about impressing anyone, because the only opinion that matters is your own. You start to live for you, not for them. You start to make decisions based on what feels right for your soul, not what others expect from you. Imagine the freedom that comes with this realization. You don't have to fit into anyone else's box. You don't have to live up to someone else's standards. You can simply be yourself, unapologetically. And that is a power like no other. True self-worth comes from knowing that you are worthy just as you are. You don't have to do anything extra, prove anything to anyone, or strive to meet someone else's expectations. Your value is innate. It's not something you can lose. It's not something that can be taken from you. The only way to lose it is if you give it away, if you allow others to define you instead of defining yourself. This is where Buddhism offers a profound lesson. In Buddhism, there's a concept called right understanding. It means understanding things as they truly are, without the filters of societal expectations, personal insecurities, or fear. This deep understanding allows you to see yourself without the layers of external validation. You begin to see yourself as a part of the whole universe, as a being with intrinsic value simply by existing. This doesn't mean you should stop caring about others or lose compassion. In fact, Buddhism teaches us to care deeply for others, but it also reminds us not to let our worth be tied to how they perceive us. True compassion begins with self-compassion. If you don't honor yourself and recognize your own value, how can you fully show up for others? There is a profound peace in accepting that you are enough. When you stop seeking external validation, you start to find freedom. You stop looking for the next compliment, the next approval, or the next form of external recognition. Instead, you turn inward. You recognize that your peace, your happiness, and your value come from within, not from what the world thinks of you. You see, the world will always have opinions. People will always have judgments, but their opinions do not define you. They are reflections of their own lives, their own beliefs, and their own experiences. When you no longer attach your self-worth to their approval, you become free. You no longer live under the shadow of others' judgments, and instead, you stand tall in your own light. This is where the magic happens. When you stop trying to be someone else's idea of perfect, you start becoming the best version of yourself. You start to understand that imperfection is part of being human. No one is perfect, and that's okay. It's your flaws, your quirks, and your authenticity that make you unique. When you accept yourself, flaws and all, you become truly powerful. True confidence isn't about being better than others or receiving validation. It's about knowing your worth even when the world around you doesn't recognize it. It's about standing firm in who you are, without needing to prove anything to anyone. The more you embrace your authentic self, the more others will be drawn to your confidence, not because you seek their approval, but because your self-assurance radiates from within. So, how do you build this self-worth? It starts with small steps. First, stop comparing yourself to others. Your journey is your own, and theirs is theirs. Second, practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a dear friend. Third, start to identify your strengths. What makes you unique? What do you love about yourself? Finally, let go of the need for approval. Recognize that you are enough, just as you are. When you begin to live from a place of self-worth, everything changes. You no longer seek validation from others, and you start making decisions that are aligned with your true self. You attract people who appreciate you for who you are, not for what you can give them. You stop living in the shadows and begin living in the light of your own worth. Remember, your worth is not determined by others. It is determined by you, by how you see yourself, by how you treat yourself. You are enough, just as you are. This is the truth that will set you free. This is the key to living a life of peace, freedom, and true happiness. Letting go of attachments and expectations. Have you ever noticed how much you hold on to? You hold on to the belief that others should care about you, that they should always understand your needs, and that their actions should align with your expectations. You cling to the idea that if you do enough, if you try hard enough, if you give enough of yourself, then maybe, just maybe, you'll receive the validation you crave. But what happens when that validation never comes? What happens when the love or attention you expected is not there, or it fades away? The truth is, we spend so much of our lives attaching ourselves to outcomes. We attach to the idea that people should act in certain ways, that they should acknowledge our worth in a way that feels right to us. We expect things to turn out the way we want them to, and when they don't, it hurts. The pain comes not from what happens, but from the attachment to how things should have been. Imagine for a moment that you were able to let go of all these expectations. What if you could release the idea that others need to fulfill your emotional needs, or that you need to be a certain way for them to accept you? What if you could let go of the need for constant reassurance and validation? How would it feel to just live in the present, without holding on to the weight of these demands? Letting go of attachments doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop loving or giving to others. It means you stop tying your happiness to their actions. It means you stop relying on their approval to feel good about yourself. It means you embrace your own worth, regardless of what others do or don't do. This process of letting go can be difficult, especially because we've been conditioned to think that we need other people's validation to be happy. But the truth is, you don't. The happiness you seek is already inside you. It's not in how others see you or treat you. It's in how you see and treat yourself. Once you begin to understand that, you'll realize that the need for external validation starts to fade. There's a beautiful thing that happens when you let go of these expectations. You begin to experience freedom. The freedom to live without constantly worrying about how others perceive you. The freedom to make choices based on what you truly want, not what you think others expect of you. And in this freedom, there's peace. Real peace. But letting go of attachments doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that takes time, patience, and self-compassion. You have to practice, just like you practice any skill. It starts with recognizing the attachment, acknowledging that you're holding on, and then gently letting go. It's like holding a tight grip on a rope and slowly loosening your fingers until you can release it completely. Sometimes, you might feel tempted to hold on again, especially when things don't go the way you expect. But each time you release, you become stronger. You begin to understand that your worth is not tied to the opinions or actions of others. You are enough, just as you are. There's also a shift that happens when you let go of these attachments. You start to see people for who they truly are, without the lens of expectation clouding your vision. You no longer need them to be something they're not, and you stop expecting them to fulfill roles that only you can fill for yourself. This shift allows you to experience more authentic relationships based on mutual respect and genuine connection, rather than neediness or dependency. In letting go, you also begin to trust more in the flow of life. You understand that life doesn't need to go according to your plan for it to be beautiful. Things will happen as they happen, and you will adapt, grow, and learn. The beauty of life lies not in controlling everything, but in letting go and trusting that whatever comes is exactly what you need to grow. This doesn't mean you stop setting goals or striving for the things you want. It simply means you no longer tie your happiness to achieving those things. You let go of the idea that you must have them to be happy, and instead, you enjoy the journey toward them. You find joy in the process, in the growth, and in the lessons along the way. As you let go of attachments and expectations, you start to develop a deeper sense of inner peace. You begin to live with a sense of calm and contentment, no matter what happens around you. The ups and downs of life no longer shake you, because you understand that they're just part of the flow. You begin to live with more grace, more understanding, and more love for yourself and others. The most powerful part of this journey is realizing that you have the ability to choose your response to life's challenges. You don't have to react out of frustration, disappointment, or anger. Instead, you can choose peace, acceptance, and understanding. And when you make that choice, you free yourself from the grip of expectations and attachments. Letting go isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. The freedom, peace, and joy that come from releasing the need for validation and external approval are beyond measure. When you stop attaching your happiness to others' actions, you begin to experience the true meaning of inner peace, one that is independent of anything outside of you. And once you experience that peace, you'll never want to go back. The freedom found in self-reliance. There is something powerful about standing alone, not because you are isolated, but because you have chosen it. Self-reliance is not just about being able to take care of yourself. It's about learning to live without constantly needing validation or reassurance from others. It's about trusting yourself enough to face the world as you are and being okay with it, even when the world doesn't always agree. Imagine how freeing that would feel, no longer tied down by the expectations of others. We've all felt the weight of trying to meet someone else's standards, haven't we? Maybe it's trying to meet your boss's expectations at work or seeking approval from friends or family. You might do things you don't enjoy just to fit in or gain their favor. But in the end, does it really make you happy? Or does it just drain you, leaving you feeling empty inside? There's a huge difference between being loved for who you really are and being loved for who others want you to be. And if you're constantly molding yourself to fit others' expectations, you may be missing the chance to discover the real you. Self-reliance doesn't mean you have to do everything alone, but it does mean that you don't have to depend on others to make you feel whole. It's about trusting yourself enough to walk your own path, even when it feels uncertain. The world may not always understand your journey, and that's okay. Not everyone will see things your way, and that's fine too. The more you learn to rely on your own instincts and intuition, the less you'll need to look to others for guidance. When you find freedom and self-reliance, you start to realize that your worth is not defined by the opinions of others. You don't need validation to know that you are enough. You begin to make decisions based on what feels right for you, not what others expect of you. That's a form of true freedom. Freedom to live without the constant pressure of pleasing everyone around you. At first, this might feel uncomfortable. We're taught from a young age to seek approval, to measure our worth by how others view us. But imagine how different it would be if you didn't rely on that anymore. If you could simply live for yourself, make choices that align with your values, and trust that the right people and opportunities would come into your life naturally. Wouldn't that bring a sense of peace that can't be found through the approval of others? When you stop depending on others to fill your emotional cup, you begin to realize that you have the ability to fill it yourself. It's not about closing yourself off from the world or becoming detached from others. It's about recognizing that your happiness is not someone else's responsibility. You are the creator of your own happiness. No one else can define your worth, and once you truly understand this, it will be one of the most liberating realizations of your life. But how do you begin to embrace self-reliance? It starts with small steps. Stop waiting for others to tell you what to do or how to feel. Trust your own instincts. The more you listen to your inner voice, the more you'll realize that it has all the wisdom you need to navigate life. Stop seeking validation and start trusting that the choices you make are the right ones for you. In time, you'll find that you don't need to explain yourself to anyone or justify your actions. You'll become comfortable in your own skin, and that sense of inner peace will become your foundation. One of the greatest gifts of self-reliance is the ability to find peace within. When you are no longer chasing after external approval, you can finally be at peace with yourself. You are enough, just as you are. The constant cycle of seeking approval and affirmation fades away, and you find that you no longer feel the need to prove yourself. This doesn't mean that you no longer care about others' opinions. It simply means that you are not dependent on them for your sense of worth. As you start to cultivate this sense of self-reliance, you might find that you naturally start attracting the right people into your life. When you stop pretending to be something you're not, when you stop trying to fit into molds that don't serve you, you create space for authentic relationships. The people who truly care about you for who you are will gravitate towards you, and you'll begin to build connections that are rooted in genuine love and respect, not in the need for validation. Self-reliance is not a rejection of others. It is an acceptance of yourself. It is about realizing that you don't need anyone's approval to live your truth. When you stop relying on others for validation, you empower yourself to live authentically, to make decisions that align with your values, and to create a life that truly reflects who you are. In Buddhism, there's a powerful teaching about letting go of attachments. One of the biggest attachments we have is to the opinions of others. We often cling to the idea that we need others to approve of us in order to be happy. But the truth is, happiness comes from within. It's not something that can be found in the approval of others. The more we detach from the need for external validation, the more we make space for true happiness to emerge from within. In time, you will come to understand that self-reliance isn't about becoming isolated or independent in a way that cuts you off from others. It's about learning to rely on yourself, to trust yourself, and to build a life that reflects your true nature. This inner strength will radiate outward, and you will find that the right people will begin to respect and appreciate you for who you truly are, not for who you pretend to be. So, take a moment to reflect. Are you living for others or for yourself? Are you relying on external validation to feel good about who you are? Or are you beginning to see the power in standing alone, trusting your own instincts, and living authentically? It's never too late to start living a life that is true to you. When you do, you'll find a sense of freedom that can never be taken away. The world may continue to try to shape you, but the true you, strong, self-reliant, and free, will always remain. Self-reliance is the key to unlocking a life of freedom, peace, and authenticity. And it begins with you. You are the creator of your own happiness, the master of your own life. Trust yourself, believe in yourself, and step into a life where you are free to be exactly who you are. The role of compassion and self-care. In the journey of life, it's easy to get lost in the noise of others. You start looking for answers in the people around you, seeking validation, seeking love, or even just a moment of attention. But when you're constantly reaching outward, you can easily forget the most important thing, the need to turn inward. Compassion and self-care aren't just buzzwords. They're essential parts of your growth, your peace, and your ability to truly understand what it means to live with purpose. So many times, we neglect ourselves because we think that caring for others is all that matters. We give and give and give, without realizing that we're draining our own energy. Think about it. When was the last time you truly took a moment to care for yourself without guilt, without thinking about anyone else's needs? Can you even remember? Self-care is not selfish. It is necessary. Without taking care of yourself, you cannot effectively care for anyone else. But in a world that demands so much from you, it can feel like taking time for yourself is a luxury you can't afford. The truth is, it's not a luxury. It's a foundation. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So if you're constantly pouring your energy into others without refilling your own, eventually, you'll have nothing left to give. When we talk about compassion, it's not just about showing kindness to others. It's about showing that same kindness to yourself. It's about acknowledging your own struggles, forgiving yourself for your mistakes, and embracing your imperfections. Compassion starts with you. You can't be truly compassionate to others if you don't extend that same compassion to yourself. How can you offer support to others if you don't first recognize and heal your own wounds? Imagine waking up each day with a sense of peace in your heart, knowing that you've taken the time to care for your own needs. Not in a selfish way, but in a balanced way that allows you to give to others without feeling depleted. You give from a place of strength, not from a place of need. Your actions are no longer driven by the desperation to be seen or loved, but by the natural flow of kindness that comes from within you. This isn't about isolating yourself or being distant. It's about finding a balance. It's about knowing when to say no and when to say yes. It's about knowing that your worth is not defined by how much you can give to others, but by how well you take care of yourself. It's the deep understanding that you are deserving of the same love, kindness, and compassion that you so willingly give to others. You don't need to chase after validation or love from others. It's already inside you, waiting to be nurtured and recognized. When you begin to treat yourself with the same love and care you offer others, you start to see the world differently. The pressure to meet others' expectations lessens. The need for approval fades away. You stop looking for answers outside and start finding them within. Taking time for yourself doesn't have to be anything grand. It doesn't have to be a vacation or an expensive treat. It could simply be sitting in silence for 5 minutes, reading a book that makes you feel alive, or even just taking a walk in nature. Self-care is about those small, everyday moments where you give yourself permission to just be. And when you allow yourself to be, you create space for growth, healing, and peace. Compassion is also about recognizing that you are human, that you have flaws, that you make mistakes. And that's okay. It's okay to fall short sometimes. It's okay to have moments of doubt. But what's important is that you don't punish yourself for being human. Instead, offer yourself compassion. Understand that every misstep is an opportunity to learn and grow. You're not perfect, and that's perfectly fine. In Buddhism, the practice of loving-kindness meditation, or metta, teaches us to cultivate love, compassion, and goodwill, starting with ourselves. We cannot truly send out love to others until we first direct it inward. By nurturing your own heart, by offering compassion to yourself, you create the space for that same compassion to flow outward into the world around you. You begin to radiate kindness and understanding, not because you are trying to gain anything, but because it's simply who you are. The more you practice self-care and compassion, the more you'll see the impact it has on your relationships with others. When you treat yourself with respect, others will respect you. When you show yourself love, others will show you love. But it all starts within. You must be the first to offer kindness to yourself before you can expect it from anyone else. We live in a world that often tells us to keep pushing, keep striving, keep giving. But it's important to remember that rest is not weakness. Taking care of yourself is not laziness. It is an act of strength. When you rest, when you allow yourself time to rejuvenate, you are preparing yourself to show up fully for those who need you. You are replenishing your energy so that you can give in ways that are meaningful, not draining. Compassion for yourself isn't just about physical care. It's about mental and emotional care, too. It's about recognizing the thoughts that pass through your mind and being kind to yourself even when those thoughts are harsh. It's about learning to quiet the inner critic and allowing yourself the space to grow and change. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. You're on a journey, and that's enough. When you practice compassion, you open yourself up to a deeper understanding of life. You stop seeing challenges as roadblocks and begin to see them as opportunities for growth. Every experience, whether good or bad, becomes a stepping stone to something greater. You begin to see the beauty in the process, in the ups and downs, because you know that each moment is a chance to practice kindness to yourself and to others. In the end, the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself. When you learn to care for yourself, when you learn to offer yourself compassion, you create a life of peace, strength, and true connection. And from that place of deep inner love, you'll be able to show up in the world in ways that truly matter. You'll be able to give from a place of abundance, not lack. So, remember this. Take time for yourself. Be kind to yourself. Offer yourself the same compassion that you so readily give to others. When you do this, you will find that your life transforms in ways you never imagined. You will be more present, more peaceful, and more aligned with who you truly are. And from there, the world around you will reflect that same love back to you. How to cultivate inner peace through non-dependency. Sit down, breathe, be still, let go of everything you think you need from others. Because today, you will learn something that can set you free. You have spent years looking for comfort in others. You wanted love, approval, and recognition. You believed that if people appreciated you, then you would feel worthy. But tell me, has it ever lasted? Have you ever received enough praise to silence the voice inside you that still craves more? The truth is, no matter how much others give you, it will never be enough. One compliment, one act of kindness, one moment of attention, it feels good for a while, but soon, the emptiness returns. And then you seek more. You become dependent on their words, their actions, their presence. You become a prisoner of their validation. But tell me, if your peace depends on others, is it really yours? If your happiness can be taken away the moment someone ignores you, were you ever truly happy? Look at the wind. It moves freely. It does not ask the trees for permission to blow. It does not wait for approval. It simply exists. Why can't you do the same? Why do you tie yourself to the thoughts and opinions of others, hoping they will give you something you already have within? Detach. Not from people, but from the need for people. Be with them, love them, enjoy their presence, but do not depend on them. When you detach, you do not lose love. You lose fear. The fear of rejection, the fear of being alone, the fear of not being enough. Then what happens when fear leaves? Peace enters. Think of a river. When the water is still, it reflects everything clearly. But when disturbed, it becomes cloudy, chaotic. Your mind is the same. As long as you let others control your emotions, your peace will always be disturbed. But the moment you let go, the moment you stop expecting, your mind becomes clear. You see reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. You may ask, but if I stop needing people, won't I become cold? Won't I push them away? No. In fact, the opposite happens. When you no longer depend on people for your happiness, your relationships become pure. You stop clinging. You stop fearing loss. You stop trying to control others to fill your own emptiness. And when you do that, love becomes real. It is no longer a trade. It is no longer, I will love you if you love me back. It is simply love, without conditions. Imagine this: two hands, holding on too tightly, will feel pain. But if they simply rest against each other, there is warmth without struggle. This is how human connection should be. Not a desperate grip, but a gentle presence. Look around you. Everything is temporary. The trees will shed their leaves. The waves will return to the ocean. The sun will set, and the stars will disappear by morning. Nothing in this world is meant to be held onto forever. So why do you hold on to people with such desperation? Why do you build your identity around relationships that can change at any moment? Let life flow. Be like the sky, always vast, always open. Clouds will come and go, but the sky remains. You are the sky. Thoughts, emotions, people, they are the clouds. Let them pass. Do not chase them. Do not beg them to stay. Just watch. Just be. You may feel resistance. But I want to be loved. I want to be important to someone. Yes, that is natural. But love should never be a chain. If someone stays, let them stay. If someone leaves, let them go. Your peace should not be a hostage to their presence. Think of a candle. It burns by itself. It does not need another flame to stay lit. It simply shines. Be like that. Find your own light. Let others come close. Let them feel your warmth. But do not expect them to be your source. The moment you stop needing others to complete you, you become whole. And a whole person does not beg for love. A whole person does not fear loneliness. A whole person walks through life with quiet confidence, knowing that they are enough. So ask yourself, what am I still holding on to? What expectations, what attachments, what fears? And then, take a deep breath. Let them go, not because you don't care, but because your peace is worth more than your attachment. Be free, be still, be at peace. The power of detaching from negative emotions. Listen carefully, my friend. You have carried pain for too long. You have let anger control you, let sadness consume you, and let fear hold you back. But tell me, where has all of this taken you? Has clinging to these emotions ever brought you peace? Has drowning in your thoughts ever set you free? You must understand something very important. Your emotions are not you. They are like passing clouds in the sky. One moment, the sky is clear. The next, the clouds come, dark and heavy. But do they stay forever? No. They drift, they change, they dissolve. Yet, you chase them, hold on to them, as if they are permanent. But nothing in this world stays the same. When someone says harsh words to you, do you not feel your chest tighten? Your breath shortens, your mind races. You replay their words over and over, each time cutting yourself deeper. But why? Why give them so much power? They spoke their words and moved on. Yet, you carry them like a burden on your back. Does that make sense? You have been conditioned to react, to fight back when someone offends you, to defend yourself when someone disagrees with you. But tell me, if a madman yells at the sky, do you argue with him? No, because you know his words have no meaning. So why do you argue with fools? Why do you let their opinions disturb your peace? Detach. Let go. You do not have to hold on to every emotion that rises within you. Observe them, like a wise elder watching children play. The child may scream, the child may cry, but the elder knows it is temporary. You must become that elder. Watch your emotions come and go, without clinging to them. Many people believe that feeling deeply is a sign of strength, that if they suffer more, they love more. But suffering does not prove love, and pain does not prove strength. The strongest person is not the one who holds onto their wounds, but the one who learns to release them. Do not mistake detachment for coldness. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop suffering over things you cannot control. If a storm comes, you do not stand in the rain and curse the sky. You take shelter. You protect yourself. And when the storm passes, you step outside once more. But you hold on to the storm. You invite it inside your heart. You sit with your pain and call it home. How long will you do this? How long will you let the past define you? If you lost something, mourn it, but then move forward. If someone hurt you, learn from it, but do not let it shape your future. Buddha once said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. And yet, you keep burning yourself, over and over. Will you not let go? Will you not drop the coal? I tell you this, freedom is closer than you think. But it requires one thing, surrender. Not to others, not to the world, but to peace. You must surrender your need to be right, your need to be understood, your need to be in control. Let go, and you will see, you were never truly trapped. The door was always open. Look at nature. The river does not fight the rocks. It flows around them. The tree does not resist the wind. It bends with it. Why, then, do you resist life? Why do you fight what is? Learn from the river. Learn from the tree. Let things pass through you, instead of against you. Do not mistake this for weakness. The tree that bends does not break. The river that flows does not stop. This is the way of true strength, not in resistance, but in acceptance. Do you see now? Do you understand? The power has always been in your hands. So, I ask you, what are you still holding on to? What pain do you refuse to release? Close your eyes. Feel its weight. And now, in this moment, let it go. Breathe. Be free. Building a stronger relationship with yourself. In the journey of life, we often overlook the most important relationship we have, the one with ourselves. We spend so much time trying to please others, seeking approval, and wondering if we matter. But the truth is, the relationship with yourself is the foundation for everything else in your life. If you don't take the time to truly understand yourself, to build a bond with who you really are, you'll always feel incomplete. It's like building a house without a solid foundation. Sooner or later, it's going to crumble. Think about it for a moment. When was the last time you genuinely took a step back to reflect on yourself? Not because you needed to change something, but because you wanted to connect with your own heart? Most of us live day by day, not paying attention to the fact that we are the only ones who can understand our deepest feelings and needs. And yet, we look outside ourselves for validation, not realizing that the only approval that truly matters is our own. A lot of times, we get caught up in what others think. We constantly seek their validation, expecting it to fill us up, to make us feel worthy. But here's the catch. Others cannot validate your worth if you don't believe in it yourself. How can you expect someone else to see your value when you haven't even taken the time to acknowledge it within yourself? The first step to building a stronger relationship with yourself is to stop seeking approval from outside sources and start nurturing your own inner voice. The process of self-connection isn't something that happens overnight. It takes time, patience, and understanding. It's not about fixing yourself because there's nothing wrong with you. It's about acknowledging who you are, accepting where you are in life, and allowing yourself to grow. Self-compassion is a crucial part of this journey. Instead of criticizing yourself every time you make a mistake, practice understanding and gentleness. Remind yourself that it's okay to be imperfect. Everyone is on their own path, and you are exactly where you need to be. It's easy to get distracted by the noise of the world, opinions, judgments, expectations. But none of that matters if you don't have a solid connection with yourself. When you spend time with yourself, truly listening to your thoughts and feelings, you become grounded. You start to see the world through your own eyes, not through the lens of others' expectations. You realize that your worth is not defined by what others think of you, but by your own inner truth. Now, let's be honest. Building a relationship with yourself can be uncomfortable at first. We live in a world that constantly pulls us away from our own minds. We're taught to look outward for answers, to seek external validation. But when you take the time to turn inward, you'll discover a world of wisdom waiting for you. It's not easy, but it's worth it. The more you connect with yourself, the less you'll rely on others for your happiness. You'll begin to realize that the key to peace and contentment lies within. In Buddhism, there's a concept called self-realization. It's the idea of knowing and understanding your true nature beyond all the external noise. It's about recognizing that you are not just the thoughts you think or the things you do, but the awareness behind them. When you begin to practice self-awareness, you start to see things more clearly. You start to see yourself for who you truly are, not who others want you to be. This clarity brings a sense of freedom. Freedom from the need for validation, freedom from the cycle of approval seeking. We all go through challenges, struggles, and setbacks. Life isn't perfect, but when you build a strong relationship with yourself, these challenges don't define you. You learn to face them with strength, resilience, and a calm heart. You begin to see that challenges are not obstacles, but opportunities for growth. And no matter what happens, you will always have yourself. That's something no one can take away from you. Self-connection is not a destination. It's a continuous journey. It's not about getting to a point where you have all the answers, but about staying open and willing to learn. Every day is an opportunity to grow closer to who you truly are. And the more you understand yourself, the more you'll be able to navigate the ups and downs of life with grace and ease. Sometimes, the world can feel overwhelming. There's always something pulling you in different directions: work, family, friends, society's expectations. But when you learn to turn inward and build that connection with yourself, you'll find peace amidst the chaos. You'll know that, no matter what's happening outside, you have everything you need within you. So, take a moment today to check in with yourself. Stop and listen to what your heart is telling you. Don't rush to fill the silence with distractions or thoughts about what others think. Just sit with yourself. It's in these moments of stillness that the most profound connections are made. In the end, the relationship you build with yourself is the most important one you'll ever have. It will determine how you see the world, how you react to challenges, and how you approach life. And once you begin to nurture this relationship, you'll find that everything else falls into place. The world will begin to reflect the love, peace, and understanding that you've cultivated within. Final thoughts: embracing your true value. When you finally begin to understand that seeking validation from others is like trying to catch the wind, you feel a shift. It's as if a heavy burden has been lifted from your shoulders. No longer are you chasing approval, desperately hoping to feel worthy. Instead, you start to realize that your worth was never dependent on anyone else. Your value was always within you, waiting to be acknowledged. The truth is simple: you are enough. You've always been enough. The struggle to seek approval, to prove your worth, is what weighs you down. You've been taught to chase, to conform, to fit into boxes that others have defined for you. But when you stop, when you finally let go of that need, something miraculous happens. You find peace. This peace comes from letting go of expectations, not just the expectations of others, but your own expectations of yourself. Imagine how freeing it would be to wake up every day knowing that you are enough, as you are, without needing to prove it to anyone. No more running in circles, no more pretending to be something you're not. Just the quiet, calm understanding that you are worthy simply because you exist. It's a challenging journey, of course. The world doesn't make it easy to let go of these patterns. Society encourages us to chase success, popularity, and external validation. But deep down, you know that this is not where true happiness lies. True happiness comes from within. It comes from knowing that your worth doesn't change depending on who's looking or what they think. Think about how different your life would be if you were to embrace this truth fully. What if, instead of constantly worrying about what others think, you focus solely on your own growth, your own well-being? The power of this mindset is immense. You no longer feel at the mercy of others' judgments. You live your life authentically, without fear, without insecurity. This doesn't mean you stop caring about others, or stop being kind, compassionate, and loving. It doesn't mean you isolate yourself from the world. What it means is that you stop relying on others to define your worth. You start living for yourself, not for the approval of others. As you begin this journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance, you'll notice something beautiful happening. The relationships in your life will improve. Why? Because you're no longer approaching others with neediness or insecurity. Instead, you show up as your true self, confident and whole. You no longer expect others to complete you, but rather, you bring your whole self into each interaction. Your value is not determined by how others see you. It's not based on your achievements, your status, or how many people like you. It's based on the fact that you are a human being, worthy of love and respect, simply because you exist. You are a miracle in yourself. The very act of living is something extraordinary, and when you realize this, you begin to feel a deep, unshakable sense of peace. Now, imagine going through your days with this knowledge in your heart. You no longer feel the need to prove anything to anyone. You no longer feel the weight of others' opinions dragging you down. You stand tall, knowing that you are worthy of love and respect, regardless of what anyone else thinks. You'll stop asking for validation because you already know your worth. You'll stop seeking approval because you've already given it to yourself. You'll stop comparing yourself to others because you've realized that there is no one else like you. You are unique, and that uniqueness is your power. As you walk this path of self-acceptance, you'll find that life becomes lighter. There's no more pressure, no more feeling like you need to keep up with anyone else. You can simply be, and in being, you'll find true joy. It might take time, and that's okay. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about realizing, step by step, that you don't need to seek approval anymore. Every day, every moment you embrace this truth, you'll get closer to the peace you seek. You'll get closer to living the life you were meant to live. And as you do, you'll notice a change in your relationships. People will see the difference in you. They'll be drawn to your confidence, your authenticity, your peace. You won't need to seek out love and acceptance from others because you will already have it from yourself. And in this, you'll find freedom. You might be wondering, what about those people who don't value me? What about those who don't care? The truth is, their opinions no longer matter. You've let go of the need to seek their approval, and in doing so, you free yourself from the pain of rejection and disappointment. You no longer have to carry the weight of other people's judgments. You walk freely, knowing that your value is not up for debate. In the end, it's simple. You don't need anyone to validate your existence. You don't need anyone to tell you that you're enough. You are enough. You always have been. This is the power of realizing your own worth. This is the freedom that comes with letting go of others' opinions. And this is the peace that will accompany you as you walk your path, confident in the knowledge that you are, and always have been, worthy. So, as you continue this journey, remember one thing. You are not defined by others. You are defined by yourself. And when you embrace this truth, you'll discover a life that is richer, fuller, and more peaceful than you ever thought possible. Thank you for being with us on this journey. We hope these insights have helped you see the power of embracing your true self. Remember, the more you live authentically, the more you'll attract the right people into your life, the ones who see you for who you truly are. Please, take a moment now, reflect on these words, and let them settle in your heart. When you do, you'll discover a new sense of freedom and peace that comes from within. And that is where true happiness lies. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support means everything to us, and we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.